Hey guys, Derek and Sally Tugnola here. We are the owners of Auto Rehab 2 here in Flagstaff, and we've owned our shop for 8 years, and we started putting out these videos just a little over a year ago to kind of start informing more people outside of our customer database. So those that walk into our brick and mortar shop, they kind of get this advice on a daily basis, but we wanted to expand that database to those that are outside of our city. So we put out these videos on YouTube. Normally they're pre-recorded, but as you can see, we started doing live videos so that you can get to know us a little bit better, get a handle on our personalities, and feel a little bit more connected versus a pre-recorded video. So today we are going to talk about shocks and struts. So hey Anita, how are you doing? As you guys jump on, we're going to say hi, and if you guys have any questions, you could put them in the comments and we will do our best to get to them. Hey Mike, so what can you tell us about shocks and struts, babe?
So today we're going to talk a little bit about it, more just to inform you about what's going on with shocks and struts. Sometimes people go into a shop and get a free oil change or cheaper oil change, and they come back with the inspection report, and one thing that can be on there sometimes is shocks and struts. Now, shocks and struts can be a very expensive repair. They typically are a little bit labor intensive, as well as the parts kind of add up. And so there's a lot of questions that people have. Oftentimes somebody won't even know that they need them, and so it's kind of a shocker when the technician tells you, you need shocks and struts. And as a customer, some people don't think, well, it drives fine, I didn't notice anything. But there's others that the car, you've been noticing a little bit like less stable, kind of a travel, maybe a little bit of bounciness increasing, sometimes maybe you have a little clunk or a pop, and so sometimes you notice, sometimes you don't. But what we want to do is kind of show what they're looking for, what they try to sell, and then give you the information that you can make a decision for yourself. So when we talk about a strut, when a vehicle's in, oftentimes, what a lot of these places look for is oil residue at the top of this portion right here. This is a strut assembly. This is obviously not an uninstalled one. There's no spring on it. But when they see oil residue here, that's typically a telltale sign that this customer needs struts, the struts family. And we're here to kind of just inform you so you know how to make a decision for your own vehicle. Oftentimes, there will be a little bit of residual that will start up here at the top. And it's one of those things that sometimes they can leak a little from the seal and not actually be bad yet, but it'd be a good time to start putting away, saving a budget for it, for when you need to repair it. So, a strut assembly. This is a used one off of the vehicle. So they typically will pull this boot up and see the top portion right there? That portion is what they're looking for, and I've seen some shops recommend some that maybe just had dust or a little bit of residue, and will recommend a strut over it. And customers don't know any better. So oftentimes they'll pay for it. They want their car to be good. There's people that want to be safe on the road, and so that's what they do. Now, when we see this, we like to check it. We like to take it for a drive. We look for bounciness. Sometimes you'll hit a pothole and you'll get kind of a rattle, or the car will jot around. That typically means the shock or the strut is no longer dampening. So a strut's designed that when you're coming down the road and you hit a bump, it's supposed to just bring you back to level and stay. When the hydraulic fluid leaks out, or when the strut or the shock fails, you can hit a bump and it keeps bouncing. Some people have experienced an older car that you go over a speed bump and then the car just keeps bouncing. And that is typically a strut or a shock that's blown out. So it's no longer doing its job to dampen after the bump and keep you steady. Now, this is very important if you're going to be driving on the freeway. If you hit a pothole with bad struts or bad shocks, it can jot around, and you can kind of almost lose control because it's no longer making contact with the road. Your tires are actually bouncing. And so struts are very important. Now,
Anita, sorry, I'm not trying to cut you off. Anita has a question. She said, how often do you typically need to change shocks and struts?
So shocks and struts, it kind of depends on the car and what's being used. So we will typically see a repair around the 120 to 160,000 mile mark is usually what we see on most cars that have struts. On vehicles with shock absorbers, sometimes that mileage can be shorter, closer to the 70 and 80,000 mile mark. And it does depend a lot on if you go down dirt roads every day or if you're out in the woods a lot, in a truck. It really kind of depends on your driving style. If you have a vehicle that travels on the freeway a lot and you carry a lot of weight in the car, say the vehicle's loaded up, you got family in there all the time and we're always going down the freeway, that can wear them out quicker also. So it's one of those things that just kind of comes up eventually. It's a wear and tear thing, but it is something that we look for when we have vehicles in for an oil change or have it in for any other repairs. But just so you know, when you go to a shop that might be trying to upsell, they can try to sell this job based off of a little residue on the top of the strut, not the bounciness or the actual condition of the vehicle. And so we like to take a better look. We like to keep an eye on it, clean it, inform our customers, let you know what it is, show you how it works, just so you can be aware of what it is and you can make the decision when it fits your budget, fits your schedule, fits whatever's going on. If you have some struts that have been starting to seep a little bit and we've informed you about it and you've kept track and then you're about to go on a long vacation, maybe it's a good time to do it at that point. Just keep family safe and keep everything running good when you're going down the road. But a lot of times people often have a question. For example, they might go look at their car, like the technician will show them, and they'll see maybe just your front right strut is leaking, but the front left one's not. And shops will always sell a pair. And the reason behind that is a vehicle's stability in a heavy braking situation changes if you have one new strut on one side and one strut that has 120,000 miles. When you heavy brake, one side will dive a little more than the other because one's slightly worn and one's stiffer. So in the front, it is often recommended to do a pair. However, to get you by, if it's an in-town car, you could do just one. As long as you, the customer, are aware of what the potential thing could happen is, and know that you could have a brake steer. Oftentimes when you have a weaker strut than the other, when you hit the brakes, the car will dive one way or pull one way. So we like to do a pair. Some shops will try to sell all four just because they figure your suspension has 120,000 miles on all of it, so let's just replace it all. It's not necessarily needed. So there's some updates on what it is. If you have any questions and you happen to be in the Flagstaff area, we're more than welcome to stop by and we would love to show you, get a feel for it. We'll go for a ride with you if you need, just so you can know what's going on.
Yeah, and if you're outside of Flagstaff, then the best thing to do is always ask to look at the part that they're trying to replace. Because then with these videos, then after hearing what Derek said, you can look at the part and then know, okay, do I need to only replace the pair or do I need to replace all, both pairs or any of that kind of stuff. Hey, Troy. And if you guys like that video, go ahead and push like and then share this video. We love for this video to get out to as many people as possible. So you are always welcome to share and like and comment below. If you have any more questions, you can email us at autorehabflagstaff@gmail.com. So thanks for watching, guys. We will see you next week.